Greetings. This is a continuation of the hot summer. The enemy is escalating his war machine on the black man and woman. Allah for defense. Now, we were left off part one, Born Mastermind Allah. This part two is going to be showing you the weapon we're going to use to defend ourselves. We said Allah, right? But first, let's go back to the meaning of God as defined by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. The meaning of God as defined by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad means the possessor of power and force. Now, first of all, you got to know that the original Asiatic black man is the cream of the planet Earth and God of the universe. Now, a lot of you don't know that. So, what does Allah mean? Allah means, as defined by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the all in all. And we hope that Born Mastermind Allah can explain in this video, but we're going to continue on until you get it. If not in this video, and others. And what we're going to use to combat and overthrow our enemy. It's all inside us. Now look, y'all, Islam, the way it was, is gone. There are no more, meeting in churches and meeting in temples. We're in the temple. You're in your temple. Your body is the temple of the Most High. The mosque or the temple is the entire universe. You'll check it out. You'll understand in a minute.
Force itself and the original black woman, who is the personification, the physical manifestation of that supermassive black hole strength through her womb. We talk about magnetism. We talk about electromagnetism. We are that physical manifestation of the electromagnetic force itself and all the forces.
The all in all.
Magnetism and the physiology of the black body. Again, I'm going to go through some of these biological facts that we have discovered throughout the years. Some of you may have heard in previous videos, but we're going to run back through them and tie it all together. We know when you study the black body that we have a thicker blood. Thank you. All right. Thank you. We know through science that we have a thicker blood and more red blood cells. Okay? Now, the red blood cells, which contain hemoglobin, has iron. And that iron is magnetic. So already we see that we have the ability to produce a larger magnetic field than anyone else on the planet. Being an aboriginal of the planet, being an original man and original woman, science have already told us that we have thicker blood. So we have the ability to produce a bigger magnetic field. Just as you see the Earth's core, which is which is mainly iron, is what produces the Earth's magnetic field. It's that iron. Same iron that's in your blood. And it's the hemoglobin inside the red blood cells that carry the oxygen. The only reason why we breathe oxygen is for the electrons. It's the only reason why we breathe the oxygen, right? Because our iron, the magnetism in our iron and our red blood cell attracts, snatches these electrons out of the oxygen atom. So the importance of breathing is electricity. And the more electricity, the more magnetism. Electromagnetism, they go hand in hand. Like I said before, that's the male and the female, electromagnetism. So not only do we by nature have more magnetism within our blood because we have a thicker blood and more red blood cells, but then that thicker blood then attracts more electrons, producing more electricity and thus more magnetism. The blackness of our skin, hair, organs, etc. One brother, and I probably said this one other time while I was here, one brother says to me, he says, you are romanticizing melanin. And I know he said that because he didn't have a full understanding of the power of our blackness. If he understood the power of our blackness, he wouldn't say I'm romanticizing it. Because what is melanin? It's basically just a carbon compound. So it has photovoltaic properties. So we go into this carbon, and Scientific American, there was an article called Carbon Emerges as New Solar Power Material. Carbon-based photovoltaic devices might one day replace silicon solar cells. And this is from 2012. Researchers are investigating how carbon can harness the sun's light, potentially replacing more expensive and toxic materials used in conventional photovoltaic technologies. Now, a team at Stanford University has developed a solar cell whose components are made solely from carbon. The scientists published their findings last month in the journal ACS Nano. We were interested in forming basically a new type of solar cell in which the materials being used are all carbon materials, said Michael Vosgurishin, a doctoral student in chemical engineering at Stanford and a co-author. So they're showing you. I brought up articles in the past about how they're making solar cells out of aborted baby fetuses. And you know that they're black aborted baby fetuses because of the melanin of the babies. I brought up our photovoltaic capabilities in the past, and now showing you Scientific American and Stanford University, they're building solar cells made of strictly carbon as opposed to silicon. Now, we have a thing in our community, and I'm not sure why we think this way, but we somehow think that any technology that someone builds is more powerful than ourselves. We somehow think that the calculator can add numbers faster than our brain if we trained it to. They somehow think computers can store more information than our brains if we trained our brains to do it. So how do we think that a technology that's made by a lower mind, a lower vibrational frequency in the mind can produce technology greater than our physical bodies that was produced by nature and the mind of God himself? So if they're producing solar cells using carbon, then you know the greatest solar panels on the planet would be that original black carbon in the form of the black man and black woman. So our carbon or melanin dominant converts sunlight into direct current. That's what that's the photovoltaic effect. Taking that radiation from sunlight or from taking that radiation and converting it to electricity. And again, more electricity means more magnetism. So to run it down, magnetism in the physiology of the black body. We already discussed that we have a thicker blood, which contains iron in the hemoglobin, and that iron is magnetic, and that magnetism then snatches the electrons and produces electricity, which then produces more magnetism. Then we have the black skin and organs, which is nothing but carbon, and the photovoltaic effect that produces more electricity and thus more magnetism. Then you have the curl, the coiled hair, the nappiness in the hair, which is conducting electricity. And anytime you have more electricity, you have magnetism. It goes hand in hand like the black man and the black woman. So we not going hand in hand, and we out of tune with nature itself. Then we have our stronger bone density, as we also talked about in the past, how black people have deeper, more dense bones, which is conducting more electricity. All of this is producing more magnetism. So when we talk about a magnetic field, and we talk about technologies that are influenced and how our environment is influenced by magnetic fields, just as in the Mercury retrograde, how people are concerned about computer crashes and transportation being mixed up, and our own minds, because our minds are magnetic fields. So naturally another magnetic field has the ability to influence it. And that's why we have to be at our best and in tune with who we truly are to build the most strongest electromagnetic force. And therefore we won't be influenced by others, but we will influence all others. And we have the biology to show that we have the capability of producing this at a higher level than anyone else on the planet. Prayer, meditation, and magic. We're going to demystify this today. We're going to unspook this.
This is L Black Light. Stay tuned for part 3.